There is a plant growing in your garden right now that can transform a failing compost pile into finished fertilizer in 48 hours. A plant that creates nitrogen-rich liquid feed in 3 days, that works faster than anything you can buy in a store. In 1983, soil scientists at the University of Reading discovered this common weed mines, calcium, iron, magnesium, and potassium, from depths 10 feet below the surface. Minerals your vegetables cannot reach. When you cut this plant and lay it on your garden beds, those deep earth nutrients transfer directly to your crops within days. For over 2,000 years, it sustained European agriculture before synthetic fertilizers existed. Then in 1947, the first herbicide designed to kill this plant was marketed to American homeowners. The weed that created fertility for free became the primary target of a $99 billion lawn care industry. In 1842, archaeologists excavating a Bronze Age site in Denmark discovered preserved textiles woven from this plant. Carbon dating confirmed they were 3,000 years old. The fabric was stronger than anything produced by modern cotton mills. Northern Europeans relied on the same plant for rope, sailcloth, and fishing nets before hemp arrived from Asia. Medieval monastery gardens cultivated it as their primary fertilizer source. The Benedictine Agricultural Manual from 1200 AD instructs farmers to plant it along field borders and cut it monthly. Those harvested leaves fed every crop in the monastery system. The entire food supply of medieval Europe ran on the nutrients this plant mined from bedrock. But when German chemists invented synthetic ammonia in 1913, agriculture shifted to chemical dependency. The plant that had fertilized fields for millennia was reclassified as a noxious weed. Herbicide companies developed products specifically formulated to destroy it. Modern gardeners spend $300 annually on fertilizer while poisoning the one plant that creates it for free. This is stinging nettle, Urtica dioica. It is a dynamic accumulator that doubles harvests by making hidden minerals bioavailable. It is the weed that fertilizer companies have spent 70 years ensuring you never recognize as valuable. How did European farmers maintain soil fertility for 2,000 years before synthetic fertilizer existed? The answer was documented in 90 AD when the Greek physician Dioscorides described a plant with remarkable properties. It stopped bleeding, it healed wounds, and when buried in fields, it made crops grow stronger. The Romans called it Urtica, the plant that stings. By the Middle Ages, every monastery garden in Europe grew nettles deliberately, not as weeds, as agricultural infrastructure. The Benedictine Agricultural Manual from 1200 AD gives specific instructions. Plant nettles along field borders, cut them monthly, and spread the leaves across crop beds. In 1842, archaeologists in Denmark found preserved textiles woven from nettle fiber. Carbon dating confirmed they were 3,000 years old, and they were stronger than modern cotton. This proves Northern Europe had been cultivating nettles systematically since before written history. Then in 1983, soil scientists at the University of Reading wanted to understand why. They analyzed nettle root systems and were shocked. Nettle taproots penetrate 10 feet deep, reaching calcium, iron, and potassium locked in subsoil that annual crops cannot access. The plant acts as a biological mineral pump, concentrating these nutrients in its leaves at levels 5 to 8 times higher than the surrounding soil. The leaves contain iron levels 3 times higher than spinach and calcium 4 times higher than milk. But the decomposition rate revealed the true superpower. Most green manures take weeks to break down. Nettle's low lignin content means soil microbes devour it. British composting trials showed that adding fresh nettle to a stalled compost pile caused the temperature to spike from 70 to 140 degrees within 24 hours. Within 48 hours, the nettle had transformed into black humus, while other materials remained intact. It was not just decomposing, it was activating the entire pile. Researchers then tested nettle as a liquid fertilizer, steeping it in water for 7 days. The resulting tea contained nitrogen concentrations comparable to commercial fish emulsion. When applied to tomato plants, leaves showed visible greening within 48 hours, and the treated plants produced 40% more fruit than those given synthetic fertilizer. The mechanisms were undeniable. Nettle provided 3 distinct pathways to soil fertility: compost activator, liquid fertilizer, and mineral transfer agent. Medieval farmers had perfected this biological cycle. Modern agriculture abandoned it the moment chemicals became available. In 1913, the invention of synthetic ammonia addicted agriculture to fossil fuels. By 1947, Scott's company introduced the first mass-market lawn herbicide. The marketing created a cultural revolution. Perfect lawns required eliminating every non-grass plant. Nettles became enemy number 1, the very plant that could have eliminated the need for the fertilizers companies also sold. In 2008, permaculture researchers documented what they called the dynamic accumulator effect. This describes plants with deep roots mining minerals from subsoil and concentrating them in harvestable biomass. Nettle was the most powerful example ever measured. Its root architecture is not just for survival, it is designed for mineral extraction. The primary taproot punches through dense clay layers that stop vegetable roots cold, reaching fragmented bedrock where calcium, iron, and magnesium have leached over decades. Active transport mechanisms in its root cells pull these minerals into the plant, concentrating them. When you cut that leaf and lay it on your garden bed, those deep earth minerals transfer directly to your shallow, rooted crops. Tomatoes cannot reach 10 feet down. Nettle does it for them. This biological technology was well understood by Victorian farmers. The decomposition speed makes it impossible to replicate industrially. Fresh nettle leaves are 85% water. The remaining dry matter has low lignin, the tough fiber that slows decomposition. Microbes consume nettle the way fire consumes paper, soaked in kerosene. Toss fresh nettle onto a compost pile, and within hours, you can feel the temperature rising. Material that took weeks to break down is now finished in days. The nitrogen concentration explains the speed. Fresh leaves contain 5 to 8% nitrogen by dry weight, rivaling chicken manure and exceeding grass clippings by 3 times. This creates the perfect carbon to nitrogen ratio for explosive microbial growth. But nettles offer something chicken manure cannot: clean mineral nutrition without heavy metal contamination. Industrial fertilizers come with contaminants. Nettle filters and accumulates only the minerals plants need. Organic gardeners found nettle-fed crops had higher mineral density, better flavor, and longer storage life. The regenerative capacity defies industrial agricultural assumptions. Cut a nettle plant to the ground, and in 4 weeks it regrows to 3 feet. You can get 5 to 7 harvests per season. Each harvest from a small 10-square-foot patch can fertilize a 500-square-foot vegetable garden for a year. Do the math. That is $6,000 in fertilizer savings over 20 years from a single free patch. The chemical fertilizer industry cannot compete with this. They can only try to make you forget it exists. The final impossibility is the sting itself. The plant evolved this defense so effectively that humans instinctively avoid it. But the sting, caused by formic acid, disappears the moment the plant wilts. Wait 12 hours after cutting, or wear gloves, and it is harmless. The sting protects the plant from being overgrazed while offering its abundance to anyone who understands its value. The global synthetic fertilizer industry generates $230 billion annually. Every gardener who discovers nettle is a customer lost forever. You cannot patent a 2,000-year-old plant. You cannot control its reproduction. Once established, it spreads from root fragments, breaking the cycle of annual seed purchases. This represents an existential threat to the recurring revenue model. Scott's Miracle-Gro controls 38% of the North American lawn and garden market. Their business depends on homeowners purchasing fertilizer every spring. Nitrogen products represent 40% of their $4.7 billion in annual revenue. Every nettle patch is a direct loss. The herbicide fertilizer loop is a perfect business model. Scott sells you weed killer to eliminate plants that create nitrogen, then sells you bagged nitrogen to replace what those free plants provided. You buy the poison in spring and the fertilizer in summer. The cycle repeats annually. Nettle breaks that loop. In 1947, Scotts introduced 2,4-D to homeowners, surgically creating the perfect lawn culture. Broadleaf weeds became enemies. Nettles were featured in advertisements showing the chaos of an uncontrolled lawn, reframing a free fertility source as an enemy, requiring chemical warfare. This suppression goes deeper than marketing. Land-grant universities, which train agricultural extension agents, receive massive research funding from a few fertilizer giants. The curriculum reflects the funding source, focusing exclusively on chemical inputs. Dynamic accumulators like nettle are never mentioned. Master gardener programs, often sponsored by Scotts and Miracle-Gro, train graduates to recommend products, not free biological alternatives. This is not a hidden conspiracy. It is documented funding that creates systematic knowledge gaps. The result is 3 generations of gardeners who believe fertility comes in bags, who spray nettles as enemies, and who spend $300 annually replacing what one free weed provides perpetually. The fertilizer industry did not need to ban nettle legally. They just had to make it culturally unacceptable and agriculturally irrelevant. That suppression is worth $230 billion a year. The weed never disappeared. It just went underground. Permaculture gardeners and European farmers quietly maintained the knowledge through 70 years of chemical agriculture. Today, regenerative agriculture is rediscovering what medieval monks never forgot. Nettle grows in all 50 states. It thrives in abandoned lots, along fence lines, and in forest edges. The fertility factory is already growing. You just have to recognize it. Identification is simple: heart-shaped leaves with serrated edges, arranged opposite each other on square stems covered in tiny stinging hairs. Wear gloves to harvest, or cut the plant, and wait 12 hours for the sting to neutralize. Establish your own patch from root divisions. Each 6-inch section becomes a new plant. Space them 2 feet apart, and they will fill in within a season. Once established, nettles require nothing. No water after the first year, no fertilizer ever, no pest control. Use it immediately. Layer fresh nettle into a compost pile and the temperature will spike within hours. Make a potent liquid fertilizer by steeping fresh nettles in a bucket of water for a week. Dilute the resulting tea 10:1 and apply it to any plant showing nutrient deficiency. You will see greener leaves within 48 hours. Or simply cut the fresh nettles and use them as a direct mulch around your crops. They will decompose rapidly, releasing their minerals directly to the root zone. Every gardener who plants nettle breaks the fertilizer dependency cycle. Each harvest is free fertility that corporations cannot tax or control. This is not just about saving $300 annually. It is about remembering that abundance grows freely. It does not come in a bag requiring annual purchase. The fertilizer industry does not want you to know the weed they teach you to poison creates better fertility than products costing $50 a bag. The lawn care industry does not want you to know that the plant they charge you to eradicate would eliminate your need for their products forever. The agricultural system does not want you to know that every abandoned corner of America contains the solution to soil depletion. It is called stinging nettle. For 2,000 years, it sustained European agriculture. Modern soil science proves it outperforms synthetic fertilizers while building living soil instead of destroying it. It grows freely everywhere. The fertility is not in the store. It is in the weed they convinced you to hate.